a lot of different reasons to move to the cloud. Certainly a lot of organizations, as you just heard, that have made that migration or are planning on making that migration. When you sort of look at your organization or institution and you think about some of your primary drivers, I always say it typically falls into two primary categories: scalability and more informed decisions. Scalability is something that a lot of customers, or for that matter, organizations or institutions struggle with. So if you're experiencing rapid growth or you plan on doing that, having a small HR presence or a sort of confined part of the organization that's trying to manage that growth and help facilitate that growth can really be a challenge without the right application or platform in place to help facilitate that. A lack of structure, whether it's comp processing, performance reviews, approvals, or anything similar to that for your hire to retire process, is also one of the challenges. And there's typically a lot of manual processes that are going on as well today. So all three of those, coupled with the need to grow your business and continue to serve your customers or your constituents, really becomes a challenge for organizations. Obsolete and archaic systems is absolutely one of the challenges out there in today's world. There are a number of systems out there that are still, for example, on-premise, maybe on extended maintenance renewals or contracts, or for that matter, maybe on archaic or older technology. And the struggle to be able to change those systems or make sure those systems are meeting your business needs really is something that's quite paramount for a lot of organizations. Having disparate systems, whether you happen to be a global organization and you have multiple countries of operation, each one with their own different, for example, system in play, or for that matter, you even may be US-based with different business units or LOBs, and all of those different areas of the organization are using different solutions. That really starts to really become a challenge when you try to consolidate that information to drive business decisions. And also being locked into systems with no roadmap. Your organizations and institutions, I would imagine, aren't standing still. You continue to evolve and look for opportunities to grow your business and, once again, support your customers and your constituents and give your employees opportunities. Having a system that doesn't necessarily grow a roadmap or create functionality or capabilities to enable that type of mission is really a struggle for a lot of organizations. So looking at a technology like Workday that was recently built on a cloud type of platform, a true SaaS delivery model that innovates at a very quick pace, allows you to take advantage of those types of features and functions as they are released to the market and consumed by customers. Difficulty in managing compliance and risk is also an area that's pretty interesting. Aberdeen Group actually found that businesses which use the cloud were able to resolve issues nearly 4 times faster than businesses that didn't use the cloud. So when you look at the ability to be able to respond to needs, whether it's disaster recovery or compliance need or audit needs or those types of regulatory type activities, having a system that's certainly built to support that through pervasive auditing type capabilities, and having a system that's built in a SaaS platform with very tight controlled disaster recovery and backup type protocols makes a really big difference for a lot of organizations. It takes this problem, either diminishing it or takes it off the table, and gives them the comfort that they have in having a lot of information that certainly is critical to their business, that's really being well maintained and taken care of for them through their vendor. Technology needs driving skill set gaps is another area that's really interesting. I find that when we talk to organizations that are on older technology platforms or systems, they struggle quite a bit with even maintaining or updating those systems, because the knowledge that's associated with those types of systems, whether that's potentially AS400, iSeries type technology, skill sets, or anything similar to that, it's not easy to find in the market space. Or the individuals that they have within their organization that may have grown up with those systems have so much native knowledge that the risk associated with potentially losing 1 or 2 of those people can be pretty dramatic, in the sense that replacing that native knowledge or that particular skill set truly becomes something that will keep people up at night. And moving to a technology that's much more current and at the same time lends itself to better sort of knowledge sharing and cross responsibility sharing really does make a difference in that support model. Budget is also a very interesting discussion when you look at on-premise solutions versus something that's subscription-based. But there's no question that with a solution like Workday that's a subscription-based model, it allows controllers and CFOs to really better predict and plan for the expenses that they're going to be incurring as part of the value proposition of having that type of solution, versus a traditional on-premise that has, for example, situations where you have to go through significant upgrades, costly upgrades, there are peaks and valleys in your support of the system. It makes it much more difficult for you to budget and to plan, and in accordance with that, really being able to figure out how to best allocate your corporate funds in support of your systems, but also certainly your other needs within another organization. More informed decisions. This is absolutely one of the drivers when you look at bringing all of this information into a unified solution like Workday. Existing data integrity issues is always an area that we see when we walk into customers and we sort of ask the question, what's the state of your data, or where does that data reside? A lot of global organizations, for example, have a lot of their worker data resident within their regional payroll provider systems. They don't have a true, quote, system of record for their global employee base or workers. A lot of times customers struggle with the fact that even if they have the data, they're really not confident in the state of that data or the fact that it really doesn't have a lot of holes. So the integrity of that really becomes a challenge for them when they're trying to pull that information together and make really informed and important decisions around where to allocate headcount, where to allocate funding, et cetera. And access to that data, whether that's through the form of reports, dashboards, or actual interactive screens through the actual user interface of the applications themselves, really becomes a challenge as well. A little bit more of a real-time versus batch-type environment really does make a difference when you have to really look at some of these decisions and the timeliness of them. So the mission and what benefits you expect to receive from making this movement and why you're making this movement. One of the items that we clearly see resonating with a number of customers as to what they're really looking to do with this type of solution is, first of all, empowerment of manager and employees. So through the self-service capabilities of Workday, for example, you can really start to look at your managers and employees and empower them in their ability to either manage their direct reports, or for that matter, their own personal information, and start to migrate and shift your service delivery model a bit, where you may have, for example, HR professionals today that behind the scenes are doing quite a bit of heavy lifting in the maintenance of information or the pushing of paper or the updating of third-party websites, versus being able to leverage a technology to facilitate that type of information or transaction, and as a result, elevate your organization so that they can spend more time being more strategic and being more of a partner with their particular internal customers and constituents to help drive better decisions around workforce, employee engagement, and things of that nature. Predictable operating expenses, we mentioned before when it comes to budgetary challenges, but that's absolutely a benefit that allows, once again, controllers and CFOs to better plan and understand the type of expense that's required and the value that comes from that investment in this type of system. Engagement is something that is definitely a benefit that you realize through the solution that is very usable and has a quite high adoption rate within its user base. And that really does pay dividends when you look at employees being able to, once again, sort of feel self-empowered, owning their information, and as a result, maybe spend less time on the administrative side and more time on pursuing their passions within the job that they're actually doing. Standardization with flexibility is a great one. A system like Workday that has a business process framework for your hire to retire process, or for that matter, other areas of the system, for example, if you're looking at their financial suite, all of those different types of applications give you this amazing backbone to provide standardization across your organization, but it still gives you the flexibility so that if you have to deal with either local or regional requirements or specific lines of business or operating areas that have something that may be sort of out of the norm, through things like conditional rules, you can still orchestrate a very well standardized and unified hire to retire process with the flexibility to know, for example, that if you hire someone in Germany, that particular hire needs to go into Works Council. So standardization with flexibility is very powerful. It is something that as you're looking to make this type of movement into the cloud, you should think about by taking sort of inventory of what you're doing today. Not that I'm in any way recommending that you go out there and spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours documenting current state, but that you more understand where there are discrepancies in how individuals are either doing promotions, terminating people, hiring people, so that as we start to look at rolling this out and making that movement to the cloud, that standardization becomes a real opportunity in the rollout of this type of technology, and that you utilize that technology as, in a way, sort of providing you guardrails to help facilitate that standardization and drive best practice into the organization. It also becomes a very powerful platform for organic and non-organic growth. What we find with a lot of our customers, and there's a number of examples of this, is that when it comes to organic growth, that just really speaks to how can we use a system like Workday to make our candidate experience more powerful, to make employee engagement certainly more impactful, and as a result, grow the organization through great addition of talent, and certainly continue to retain talent within that organization. Non-organic growth through acquisitions, for example, becomes a very powerful tool as well. A system like this allows you to quickly take an organization that you may have acquired and actually fold that into your organization, not only through the loading of data, but also through the consolidation of practices and other components, for example, time off plans, benefit plans. How do you ensure that you're bringing in this acquired organization and aligning those so that they can immediately take advantage of current time off plans or benefit plans or anything else that you want them to embrace and be part of in support of this particular acquisition. A great example of this is we recently worked with a company that did an acquisition of a 5,000 employee organization, and within a period of about 2 months, using the Workday system and using just a really good playbook for that acquisition, they were able to bring all of those employees in, get them fully unified into their existing structures, their locational structures, cost center structures, hierarchical structures, and also into their plan structures, and immediately get them engaged as well from a rollout perspective in self-service and starting to utilize the solution and starting to update their information very quickly. So it's very powerful, and it'll allow you to non-organically grow your organization with less challenges in a platform that really does facilitate that. One thing to note around engagement, engagement does come in the form of collaboration as well. There was a really interesting survey that was done by Frost and Sullivan, and basically what they found is that companies which invest in collaboration technology had a 400% return on investment. So basically what that means is when you look at empowering your employees through things like mobile capabilities or other collaboration mechanisms, it really does allow them to continue to do their job, but at the same time stay engaged and flexible in the way that they interact with these types of systems, and it makes a really big difference. So that's the mission, and hopefully that gave you a good appreciation or an understanding for some of the reasons to make this type of migration or move into the cloud. Certainly, hopefully it made you think about maybe what's driving your particular organization or institutions in that decision. I will say that as you are making these decisions around what your mission is, one thing that you always want to really think about as a best practice is when you understand what's driving those decisions, don't lose sight of that through the course of your actual implementation.